Greetings to you all. My name is Benjamin Ferenz, and I'm speaking to you from Delray Beach, Florida. I am 100 years old and the sole surviving prosecutor of the Nuremberg trials. And I'm very happy to be here in order to reach out to the young generation about what it means to you and what you can do about helping to create a more humane and peaceful world. I was raised in poverty. My family were immigrants. They escaped from Hungary and Romania, which was then known as Transylvania, a country which no longer exists. And I learned early on that it's not what you call the country, it's how they treat their people that counts. And we came to the United States, no money, no language, no skills. My father was pleased to get a job as a janitor in Hell's Kitchen in New York, one of the high-density crime areas in the country. My earliest memories begin in the cellar, an area where the Irish were fighting Italians and the Italians were fighting the Jews and so on. And there was a lot of crime going on. Anyway, this 8th grade teacher called my mother came in. My father hadn't seen for a couple of years. And she was there with the principal. I thought they were going to complain about some mischief I'd been up to, which I was up to much of the time. She said, "This is a gifted boy. He should go to college." Well, we had no idea what she meant. Nobody gave me any gifts. And so when she said it was a gifted boy, I mean, what does that mean? And go to college? We didn't know anybody who went to college. It's just when you finish high school, if you were lucky, you went to work. So my mother said, whatever is good for him, we'll do. And so I think that marked a turning point in my life. Off I went to City College, and my grades were not extraordinary. And I got a degree in social sciences and all those things. I was an A student. But in biology, I didn't want to dissect a frog. I didn't want to do the things they wanted me to do. I inquired which was the best law school in the world, and they told me Harvard. And since I was very short, still am, shrinking, I thought I'll apply there. So I applied to Harvard, and they accepted me. And they gave me the first exam was in criminal law. I did so well that they gave me a scholarship. When I was still at law school, the war broke out. Japan attacked the United States at Pearl Harbor. Everybody I know went down to Harvard Square to enlist, including me. So I was busy trying to get into the branch of service that I wanted. I tried the Air Corps, and I tried paratroopers, and I tried the Marines, and I tried everywhere. Nobody wanted me for one reason or another. Mostly I was too small. The Marines said, "You don't look like a Marine. We can't take you." And so there I am, going into the Army as buck private, the lowest rank you can possibly get. And I was assigned to the 115th AAA Gun Battalion. The AAA means anti-aircraft artillery. I, of course, had no the slightest idea about what artillery meant or what anti-aircraft artillery meant, but at least I could read or write, being trained for the invasion of France. And we went to the South, in Carolina, and there I spent days marching up and down again, left, right, left, right, left, right. I said, "Sergeant," a beast of a man who was there, I said, "The country's at war. Is there something useful I can do besides left, right? I know the difference between my right and left foot." Landed on the beaches of Normandy after we were trained. By the time I got there were still American bodies floating in a U.S. uniform face down in the water. The tanks, many of them had been hit by the Germans, had fortified all the possible landing spots. And tanks were smoldering, dead bodies, dead American soldiers floating. We had gone through the Maginot Line and the Siegfried Line and crossed the Rhine on a pontoon bridge, driving a Jeep, all of which was very hazardous. And final battle of the Bulge in the Ardennes forest. I got a tap on my shoulder one day. Say you report to General Patton's headquarters. We got some orders for you to report. So I went to General Patton's headquarters, and he said, we have a message here from Washington. We are required to set up a war crimes branch. And your name has been forwarded from Washington. What's a war crime? And so I think I was the first man in the American Army to deal with war crimes. We finally reached a point where my colonel comes, he said, we've got a report here that we have been running into people on the road. They look like they're all starving, and they're coming out of some kind of a work camp. It was Buchenwald. They were named after the town. I get into my Jeep and off I go to the location. People are still, some of them are still on the road, most of them went back into the camp. The ground is covered with dead people. And they're wearing the uniform of the prisoners. And crematoria are going, there are bodies in them. Outside there are bodies look like skeletons, only skin and bones, piled up like cordwood, one on top of the other, ready to be burned. The people on the ground, you couldn't tell if they were dead or alive. Their eyes would be pleading for help. They couldn't stand. So that was my first introduction. No, so nobody comes to tell me, they don't think it happened, because I saw it. So I painted on my Jeep, immer allein, always alone in German, to get out of my way. And I would head for the camp. And there I would come in. The first thing I did, I find out who was the tank commander who was in charge, American commander by that time. And I'd go to him, I say, I'm here under orders from General Patton, carrying out a policy of the United States for war crimes. President of the United States. I need 10 men immediately surround the Schreibstube of the office where the records are kept. Nobody goes in or out without my permission. They would say, yes, sir. I never had any insignia on me. I acted like I was a general, something like that. And that's what it took to move them. I'd say, move, and they'd say, yes, sir. The Germans were terrific at keeping records. They had death records, the name of the prisoner, what he died from, typhus, trying to escape. Mostly it was baloney, trying to escape, or typhoid or some other disease. They were being murdered, systematically murdered, but they took down the name, and they also had the name of who was the officer in charge. This was the type of experiences in the field. I just as soon try to forget. I cannot forget. And it leads to the conclusion that war itself is horrible. It's the most outrageous thing. If the two heads of states are unable to agree, they take young people, they send them out to kill other young people they don't even know, in a country they never heard of maybe. And when they get tired of killing each other, they pause, each side declares victory, they rest a little bit, then they start again. That's the current system. I'm 100 years old now. It's worrying about guys like you who are 18. Germany finally was defeated. They had surrendered unconditionally, which was the requirement at the time. The Allied powers, British, the French, the Americans, and the Russians, got together and they had conferences on what to do about the Germans. And the Americans said, look, we need trials. You accuse them of crime, give them a day in court, let them come in, present their evidence, you present the counter evidence, have judges there who will judge it. As we in America do, says on the Supreme Court building, justice under law. Law applies equally to everyone. Give them a fair trial. Goering, who was the lead defendant that we captured, Hitler had disappeared. And we didn't know originally where he went. Eventually, before the war ended, I was looking for Hitler as well. They gave me an honorable discharge the day after Christmas. Bing Crosby had said, you'll be home for Christmas. He was singing, I'll be home for Christmas. I wrote to my fiancée, I'll be home for Christmas. But when Christmas came, I get a telegram from the Pentagon saying, "Dear sir," they had never called me sir in 3 years in the Army. And so I go to Washington, they called me "Dear sir," and I was interviewed there by a Colonel Mickey Marcus. I've given the name because his name was well known. He was a New York boy who said, "Benny, you have to go back." I said, "Go back to Germany?" I said, "In order to get me to go back to Germany, you have to declare war on Germany again and be losing." I said, "I'm not going back in the Army." Oh, he said, "We need you, we need you. We have more trials are coming on. Now you tell me you need me when the war is over?" I said, "Yes, we do. So we'll make you a full colonel." I called up my girlfriend and I said, "How would you like to go to Europe for a brief honeymoon?" She said, "I'd love it." I said, "You got it." I went back, I said, "I'll take the job." Most of the records are in Berlin. I'll set up in Berlin. I got a staff of about 50 people, all former German refugees. One of my researchers in Berlin comes and he hands me a pile of papers. And I look at it and it's in German, Ereignismeldungen aus der UdSSR, which in English means situation reports from the Eastern Front. And these were daily reports, top secret, written from the Eastern Front. The German army had been advancing into Ukraine, Russia, and so on, and there were special squads called Einsatzgruppen, and their assignment was to kill without pity or remorse. They never used the word kill, eliminate, without pity or remorse, every single Jewish man, woman, or child they could lay their hands on. I took a little adding machine and I began to add up how many people they killed, where. When I got to 1 million, I said, "That's enough." I took a sampling. I got on the next plane going from Berlin to Nuremberg. I went to Nuremberg. There was Taylor, who was then the general. He'd been promoted to colonel. And I said, "General, we got to put on a new trial." So I thereby became the chief prosecutor of the largest murder trial in human history.
The charges we have brought accuse the defendants of having committed crimes against humanity. The same acts we have declared under count 1 as crimes against humanity are alleged under count 2 as war crimes. It is therefore wholly fitting for this court to hear these charges of international crimes and to adjudge them in the name of civilization.
I accused 22 defendants selected by me on the basis of their education. Many of them had PhD, one had a double doctorate, and their rank, generals and colonels of the SS, and accused them of the calculating murder of over 1 million innocent men, women, and children. That was my first case. I'd never been in a courtroom in my life. I arrested my case in 2 days. I convicted all of them. We asked the court to affirm by international law the right of all people to live in peace and human dignity, regardless of their race or creed. That was my opening paragraph in the Einsatzgruppen trial. And I got that from the judges. More important is to prevent it from happening again. And I've been working on that for the rest of my life. And it's very hard to do. It's 3 words: law, not war. If you can do that, you save every day billions of dollars, which you can use to deal with the legitimate complaints of old people who need medical care, students who have to pay for their tuition, all the legitimate complaints which could be solved if we didn't spend the money on weapons to kill them instead of helping them. And that is the current system. Now, how are you going to do it? I will end by telling you how to do it and the principles which have guided me. There are 3 principles. 1, never give up. 2, never give up. 3, I hear you, never give up. Good luck. I wish you the best of luck.